What's up guys, William here, and I am finally back with another video. I know I have not been active, but I have just been super busy with the car. Haven't really had a whole lot to cover with you guys apart from this amazing new turbo setup from IROS Motorsport. I've just really been enjoying the car. You know, I've been very active on social media, but not really creating a lot of videos, so I'm sorry for that, but I do have something pretty exciting, I think, to share with you guys. And I want to say one of the first DIYers to do this. I've heard of other people who have had this particular modification installed, but they had other shops install it for them or did not share the information. So I wanted to create a video for you guys and show you what I'm working on, how I did it, and then you can make a decision on whether or not you want to do it for yourself. So currently, right now, my car is torn completely apart, and I didn't exactly plan on making a tutorial because originally when I bought it, I was told that it was plug and play, which unfortunately, fortunately for you guys, I found out that it was not. So now that we're here, I have an opportunity to create some content and show you what I did, how I did it. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit and show you all of the steps that I took, and then you will be able to figure out how you can do it for yourself. So first and foremost, this lens is a little not super wide, so hopefully you can see this beautiful push start RS3 wheel. This is different in that it is not a TTRS wheel. The thing with the TTRS wheel is the buttons here are typically orange, a different color than the rest of the buttons, and so if you are pay attention to details, then that would bother you. I'm sure a lot of people don't care, but this is actually an RS3 wheel that has fully functional push start buttons. Now right now I'm going to need to take off this airbag, which I will show you how I do. It's a little bit different than some of the other cars. I looked up some tutorials and it was not exactly the same. So thank you to Jason and a couple other friends in the Unitronic chat who have helped guide me through this. But I have to say that if you're thinking about doing this install with the push buttons, it is very involved and quite the opposite of plug and play. It's not fun at all. Now, if you're doing just the steering wheel, it's absolutely plug and play and actually pretty darn easy. So that part will not be a challenge, but with this tutorial, you should be able to figure out, if you wanted to do the buttons, you should be able to figure it out a lot easier than I did. Now, the vendor, who was, very gracious, because I was, pretty frustrated with this install. So, he made sure that he took care of me, that he got me the instructions. It took a lot of back and forth and quite a bit of frustration, but we did get there, and he was very good about it. And so I'd like to thank him for doing that. I will share his information in the bottom of the chat, but just to get right into it, let me show you what I have here. And so as you can see, the entire center console has been taken out. My center console is apart. Yours will not be. This one should not be. I know it's a little bit hard to see in here, but this is the center console in two pieces, and here is a bunch of wiring. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get some better lights so I can show you what we have going on here. It's really not too much work. Try not to get too intimidated by it, but yeah, we'll get right into it. As you can see, we are back, and with quite a bit more light in here. I really wanted you to be able to see what's going on, and the first thing I wanted to do is go over what this kit has in it. So first of all, as you can see, we have the wheel here. The buttons were already installed. This came as a complete kit without the airbag. So you are going to have to take your airbag out of your OEM wheel and put it into this one. It also came with an additional harness for the airbag sensor, or for the wheel itself, including the airbag, which was not used. I reused my OEM harness because this one would actually have to be shaved. I don't know why it was included. Maybe it was for a purpose, but all of the buttons functionally work. They all get power. Everything is good on its own. Now, what separates this kit from possibly other kits is it does not need any coating. And how that's accomplished is it's done through a wireless receiver. And that's where the third piece of this puzzle, the wireless harness, comes from. The start-stop button will transmit to the wireless receiver to turn off or turn on the car. That wireless receiver is wired directly both into your car, into ground, and into your ignition system right below the stop-start button. And I'll show you exactly how that looks. All right, we're back. And so we're going to get started on the installation. Now, the first thing I recommend to do is to go ahead and install the wheel first. You don't have to do it in that order. You can start in any order you want, but the first thing that you're going to want to do is ensure that the wheel is in a 45-degree position. So the flat part of the wheel, or the corner of the wheel, should be pointing up. So as you can see, it doesn't matter which direction you start in, you're going to have to go in both directions. But that's the orientation of the wheel. How you get it in that position is to go ahead and turn the car into accessory mode, turn the wheel, and then you can go ahead and turn the car off. Once you do that, the wheel is not locked. You're going to head back to the trunk. As you can see, I have a lightweight battery in here. You might have your full battery, but all I'm going to do is go ahead and disconnect the negative terminal. Race car life. So we got an extra set of wheels. That was new. Really excited to test those out on the drag strip. But as you can see here, there's no power to the car whatsoever. Now that the wheel is unlocked, it should stay unlocked. So if your wheel is locked, you obviously can't turn it. That's why you have to turn that first. When you have it in this position, if you feel in the back of the wheel, there's a hole that you can stick a screwdriver. So what you're going to want to do is get your screwdriver. It needs to be kind of a beefy one. And find that hole. You're going to want to stick it straight in and pull up until you hear a click. You hear the click, I let go. And there we go. Half of the airbag is out. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the wheel the other direction and do the same thing. Okay, so we definitely had to fight with it quite a bit. But once you get it popped, I think, yeah, so my wiring, I can get the flashlight, hang on. The wiring is still connected in the back. So you have to be really careful. If you look back there, there's a yellow harness with a tab popped up. That tab's actually supposed to be down. I must not have clicked it down all the way. So make sure you don't follow my footsteps and make sure that gets clicked down. But basically what you're going to do is pull out this airbag a little bit, hold it with your hand. You're going to reach in there and pull that tab up. And then when you squeeze the tab inwards, you will be able to pull out that harness. And then there's another one right there. Now for that one, you're going to have to pull it up out of the rubber and get to the back side of it and stick a screwdriver between the plastic and the plug itself. And there's a little tab that you have to break the plastic loose from. Once you don't break it, obviously, you just stick the screwdriver in there and twist it just a little bit and then pull gently on the harness to get it out. You don't want to pull on the wires, but pull on the end of it. So hopefully you can see that. I need two hands, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn this off. I'll pull those harnesses out and show you what we're working with. Okay, here we are. I have a little bit of light in here for you. As you can see, that's the one plug that you need to unplug, and then that is the other. And so you just stick a little tiny screwdriver in the back side of this and kind of twist it. You do need a small tip, and then it should come right out. Now, the only other thing that you need to worry about is this triple square. I believe it's an M12 triple square. And what you want to note, I'm not going to take this out because I've already done this, but when you take this out, you're going to note that there's lines on the actual wheel and then lines on the inside bolt too that will tell you where up and down is. So it might make it easier to go ahead and straighten the wheel up straight. That way when you put the new wheel on, you can line the lines up and line it up so that up and down, left and right, all that good stuff is exactly in line. It's honestly not hard. It just takes a little bit of strategy and finesse, and you will get it lined up perfectly. Another thing you want to watch out for is just not tugging on these wires. There's, really small wires in here on the back of that harness, and then some small wires in the airbag. So again, I want to reiterate, you make sure that your battery is unplugged before you start messing with your airbag. You don't want it to explode in your face, can really hurt you. So make sure the battery is unplugged before you start this. And so now that we've gotten this out, the reason I took this out is so I can go ahead and install this beautiful airbag cover. It's Alcantara with red stitching. As you can see, it's a mess in here because frankly it's all because of this, but that's okay. It's a fun DIY project, so we're gonna get to it. We're gonna go inside, charge up my gimbal a little bit, and I'll show you how to take off the airbag cover, and then we can reinstall it and we'll be done with the wheel itself. Okay, and here we are. As you can see, I have my OEM airbag and then this beautiful Alcantara and red stitching airbag cover. So I believe this is actually an OEM cover wrapped in Alcantara. So what we are going to do is work on disassembling this and removing the factory cover and replacing it with the Alcantara. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side for a moment and direct your attention to the back of the airbag. So what you can see here is the factory harness. I have not taken this out yet. I wanted to show you that process. I don't believe we have to unhook the entire thing, but in order to do that, it's very easy. You simply pull this up, you remove the 3 metal clips. I don't know if you can see that, but they're very easy to remove. In order to remove these, you just push on this. There's a little tab on the metal, and you push on it and then pull and it will pop off. But I'm not going to do that because I don't think it needs to come off. The only one that I'm concerned with is this one here on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and get my very tiny screwdriver in there and pop it up. And then it should just come right off. So that is out of the way. And then now all we need to do is get to these 4 bolts. Going to use a number 8 millimeter. And I'm actually learning as I go, so I'm not 100% sure just yet how to get this off. So I'm going to figure that out and I'll be right back. Okay, now that we got the 4 bolts out, very simple. You're just going to take your hand on here and your hand on the airbag and pull it apart. It was a little bit on there tighter before, but I had already taken it off for the sake of saving time in the video. So I'm going to go ahead and set this out of the way on a soft location, and as you can see, here is the airbag cover. So it looks really easy to pull off. All you're gonna do is pull back on these tabs, break them loose, okay, so from here I want to note the orientation of the airbag. As you can see here, I have the airbag straight up and down. I'm going to set that down. If you notice on here, there's 4 bolts. On this, where the 4 bolt holes go, where the plug is the top of the steering wheel. So to put this back together, we would take the top of the airbag and place it through these holes so that the plug and the top of the airbag are in the same place. You got the yellow plug, the two bolt holes, and the top of the airbag. Okay, so now that we understand that, we want to make sure that we get the airbag on the correct way. So I'm going to be very careful when I pull this apart to ensure that I get the airbag situated correctly. I want it straight up and down and perfect. Alright, and I wanted to apologize because I had created a video of this, but unfortunately it did not record. So I didn't want to leave you hanging, so I'm going to do my best to explain what I did from the last point in the video. Where we last left off, the airbag was still inside of the OEM airbag cover, and all that was done in order to get that out. The first thing I noted was that the up and down on the airbag is exactly where this slit is. So if we note the slit, it's exactly the center of the airbag cover. So when I have the actual airbag still in here, you know, I popped the tabs off and I'm just slowly working it out. I'm going over here, I'm pulling it up a little bit, I'm pulling this tab back, I'm sticking my finger in and kind of just twisting it around and working it out. Same thing all the way around, very slowly, very patiently. When I finally got it to a place where it was actually ready to come out, I set up my aftermarket airbag in the same orientation, and I flipped this over and I went ahead and I pulled it out and set it straight up and down on the table. Now on the actual airbag, remember, if you remember, there's 4 bolts, 2 at the top, 2 in the bottom. So I just made sure I had the orientation right, and then I took the new airbag cover and lined it up according to the bolt holes. So, you know, if this one was here, then I just flipped it over, lined it up, and then just pushed it on top of the OEM airbag. And then if there was any adjustments, the same aftermarket had the same slit, so I just eyeballed it, and if I needed to, I could hold the bottom of the airbag and actually twist the cover if it's not straight. So there's a little bit of room for forgiveness. If you don't get it on there perfectly straight, you can adjust it after it's back on there. You just kind of hold it and turn it with your hand, get it nice and straight. The slit with the back of the cover and the 2 bolt holes, I could tell you it might look a little bit intimidating, but this was actually one of the easier parts. Putting on and taking off the old cover and putting on the new one was not hard at all, because they gave you these guides in order to line it up. And also, if you see these grooves in between these tabs here, that's where all the metal prongs that stick out of the airbag will fit in there perfectly. You should have no problem putting it on. I promise you, it's not very difficult at all. And you know, if you get it wrong, it's really easy to take off and just twist it a little bit so that it gets on right. So I apologize about missing that part of the video, but I think with this you'll have no problem figuring it out. But you can see where we left off. We have this clip, and then the top of the steering wheel, as we were talking about before, is the yellow plug. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to install this plug first. I'm going to clip it back into here, this plug, and then I'm going to seat it down so that it fits. You can't really see it. I can't really grab the light right now, I apologize, but underneath there is a place that holds the clip in place so it's not moving around. So after I clip it back in, I'm just going to make sure that I push it down real hard and it fits down into that groove, that rubber groove that it's meant for. And then after that, all we need to do is clip the yellow plug back in, push the tab back down, and that's it. We can go ahead and clip the steering wheel back in. Make sure, you know, your bolt, I used blue Loctite on this and tightened it down really tight. I don't have the exact torque specs, but I know it's tight enough. Definitely torqued it down real good. I don't believe it's a stretch bolt, so you don't have to worry too much about stretching it out. But this part is really super easy. After you reinstall the airbag cover, you are done with this part. Okay, I went ahead and clipped back both clips, pushed it down into the groove, pushed the tab down. I have not pushed the airbag on all the way. Again, we're going to make sure that the car does not have power to it. And what we want to look at now is just make sure that it's straight. Okay, so we want it to be visually appealing, straight up and down. My wheel, I went ahead and centered it back. Try to get it perfect, as you can see. The red line. Airbag. This groove pointing straight down at the middle of the RS logo. I can see that's perfect. Go ahead. Push it in till it clicks twice. We're going to check all around the edges here. Give it a tug. I can feel it's still a little bit loose. Ah, got another click. Now it's in. You know when it's in when it doesn't move around. Okay, so that is in there. So you want to make sure that's in there good and tight. And guess what? We are now done with the steering wheel. I know that it's straight. I checked the tires to make sure they're straight, to make sure those lines in the steering wheel lined up when I actually put the new steering wheel on here. I'll show you the lines that I'm talking about. I have the old wheel right here. It's kind of tough to see, but if you look right up there at the top, there's a line. Man, that's hard to see. Hang on. You see it now? There's a line at the top. And there's a line at the bottom on the actual steering column, but the line at the top is all you need to worry about. That line at the top needs to line up with the it's like a splined post coming out of the steering column. You can see all the splines if you look in the edges there. So you may have to take it out and move it over one spline or move it the other way one spline, but you want that line to line up on the splines. That's really the only trick to doing the steering wheel. It's honestly pretty damn easy. Okay, so now we're going to get into this mess. And I apologize, I did not video taking this out. There's a lot of tutorials on this. It's really honestly not hard. But if you stick something right here, like one of these pry tools, and you stick it in right here and pry up, you should hear a pop on both sides. If you then grab it and pull it up, it should pop loose. Another thing that you need to do is to take out the shift knob. How you take this out, it's pretty easy. You grab it underneath this edge and pull up, and all these tabs will pop loose. And then you just grab the this button on the shift knob and you pull it out like I have it here. And then on the bottom, you twist that dial counterclockwise and pull it straight up, and this will come out. After you get this out and you pop up the whole center console, there's going to be 3 connectors here. One for the push start, which ends up right about here. One for the MMI dial, and then another one for the parking brake. Beyond that, you have another connector here for the lights on the drive select, drive, reverse, all that stuff. And then you have one more for your interior lighting in the cup holders. So just take your time, unconnect all of those, and go ahead and pull this out. Beyond that, here's our new harness. Okay, it's got 2 ends on it. Your center console will not be a part like mine, so you don't have to worry about this. Actually, I'm going to go to the other side and grab another angle. Hang on. Okay, so I just want to go over a couple of things. This piece on yours will still be attached to the center console. On the bottom of this piece, you have the push start harness. That's where you're going to tie in the 2 wires. I wasn't planning on making a video of this because I did not understand just how involved this kit is. I was told it was plug and play, and then after I get the car apart, I was told not plug and play, but pull and plug, which is to me freaking hilarious, but it was not funny at the time, because yeah, you know, when you hear plug and play, you expect plug and play. But anyway, I did break my center console disassembling it. You shouldn't. Mine came apart in a funny place that it probably wasn't supposed to. Instead of all is one piece, as you can see here, just this part came out and it cracked this. So unfortunately, I either have to find a new trim for it or replace the whole thing, which is like $100 on freaking eBay right now. So probably gonna do that. But anyway, the push to start has this harness coming out of the bottom of it. After you know, if you took this all out as one piece, you would find this in the bottom of the push to start, which is right around this area. So actually it goes through here, but anyway, you'll see it, you'll unplug it, and this is what you'll find. On here, this plug actually looks like this. This is just a cover. So this kind of, you know, sits on there over that, right? It's got two clips, one here, one here. You take a little screwdriver, you stick it in there, you kind of twist it, and you pop this off. Once you pop this off, you're left with this, and you'll have numbers on here. You can see there 4 and 6, and 1 and 3. You need to pull out number 6 and number 3. Number 3 is blue and yellow, and 6 is blue and white. And what I did to do that was I got this little tiny pliers, spring pliers, and a screwdriver. And all I did was peel back some of this tape here, grab the end of the wire with the pliers, and then stick it in. See where that metal is right there, where my thumbnail is? You depress it down, and you're actually pushing on a little tab on this pin. When you press down on that, you can pull on the wire and it will come out, and you'll be left with these. So you need to pull these two out and then pin them to the new harness, which I will show you how to do here in a minute. Okay, and that's super easy. The pins basically go in the same way that they come out. They're labeled. This one has a, sorry, I'm in my jammies here, it's kind of late. This one has a 6 on it, the other one has a 3. And you just slide it in there. There's the same tab like these have. These have the little push tab. See that push tab? So you just slide them in the same direction. That way they actually click in. You can see the tabs there. They actually click in. They won't come out. I can pull on this. It's not going to come out unless I depress that pin with a screwdriver, or if you have a tool for that, that's great. I don't. So then all we're left with is this connector, and what I'm going to do is follow the 3 wire back. This is the 3 wire on the right, the 6 wire is on the left, and I'm just going to plug in those wires to the proper connector. The blue and yellow is 3, and the blue and white is 6. And so this harness, what's left of this harness is the power and ground wire. So for the ground wire, if you see right down there, that is ground. It's touching the frame of the car. There is plastic between it, but if you put it between the bolt and that washer, you will definitely have contact, because as you can see right below that plastic is the frame of the car. So that will definitely be a good ground. And then what I'm going to do for power is I'm going to figure out which one of those wires that goes into the USB port has power. And the reason that I'm finally got the power wire in for the harness. It took me a little while. I had to do some testing. And what I did was I stuck a sewing needle into the pins on the harness for the USB. And what I found is that the red wire on the, you're going to pull this out of the bottom of the USB. It's back in here underneath. You can't miss it. You unclip it and pull it out. And what I did was I took a little wire connector here and I hit, if you can see it, you probably can't, but I hit the red wire and I put the yellow power wire from the new harness into this connector and went ahead and squeezed it together. I know it has power, I know it works, so I'm going to go ahead and clip this back into the USB. That way I have USB power. And then just down here, there's 2 bolts. Also cannot miss them. They're right below the shift knob. There's 2 bolts, they go directly to ground. You just unscrew the bolt, stick the black ground wire around the bolt, and push it back down. And that's all very easy. The hardest part was repinning the harness. Now that I've showed you how to do it, you should have no problem with it. It's definitely a struggle without instructions, but now that we have it, should be good to go. So let's go ahead and get this back together and fire it up. Alright boys, so we got it all back together. Now ideally you would not want to follow in my footsteps. Unfortunately, I have put it back together and snapped it back down. It's all greasy and dirty from my hands touching it. And on top of that, another unfortunate fact is I broke this trim because I pulled it up from here to pop the whole thing up instead of here, or you know, from the front somehow. You know, when I popped it up, I should have pulled it from the sides and pulled it up and back out. So I did break this trim, and stupidly I clipped it back together before testing it. But good news, I have lights here, I have lights here. There's only one thing left to test. Oh snap. Look at that. Here we go, comfort mode, auto, dynamic, individual, and comfort's where it gets quiet. So as you can see, everything appears to be working. I'm thrilled. This came out absolutely amazing. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off now, because I am in a closed garage. Don't want to get carbon monoxide poisoning. But yeah, fit and finish is excellent. Got the red large size carbon paddles, Alcantara cover, nice and straight. Go ahead and just test this button real quick, make sure it's working. It is working. Go ahead and shut it off. Just wanted to make sure everything was together right. So actually we're going to do one more thing. I'm sure a lot of this wouldn't work, but
K-band. K-A-band.
go ahead and
Laser.
I don't have any music
GPS connected.
in here right now to test, but oh, there we go. Volume is working. Menu, back, test back. Yeah, check all the buttons, make sure everything works. But if any of this works, all of it's going to work because you have the MMI, parking brake, start button, accent lights. It's all working. Life is good. thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. I really want to reiterate, this is not for the weak. This is not for the uncomfortable. This is definitely a very involved installation. It is so far from plug and play, it's not even funny. But in all honesty, it's really not that hard. We had to repin 2 pins out of 1 harness, so we had to take 2 pins out, put 2 pins back in, and take the 2 that we took out and pin them in something else. So in total, you're pulling out 2, you're plugging 4. Not really a big deal. We're splicing 1 power wire, we are fixing the ground wire, and then if you choose to do the Alcantara cover, then of course you're going to be taking apart your airbag. But with instructions, honestly, I think you could do this in about 90 minutes, 2 hours, 3 at the most. So really not too bad. Very happy with the result. It stinks that I broke my trim, but lesson learned. Hopefully I can save one of you from doing the same. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I plan to have more content for you in the future, and yeah, be safe out there, guys.